Today on CityCast Denver. Let me sum up the past week in Douglas County. Thousands of teachers in the streets. School board members meeting secretly, possibly against the law. And now, the superintendent, a 26-year veteran of the district, has been fired.
And I'll say this, it's not about me, even though unfortunately tonight we're talking about me.
Colorado Newsline reporter Chase Woodruff was on the ground covering the story last week, and he joins me to break down the school board's tug-of-war over mask mandates and equity in the classroom. Today is Monday, February 7th, 2022. I'm Bree Davies, and this is CityCast Denver. Chase Woodruff, welcome back to CityCast Denver.
Thanks for having me again.
Chase, can you explain what is going on in Douglas County right now?
So on Friday night, in a kind of tense and hours-long board meeting, the Douglas County School Board voted 4-3 to fire its superintendent.
I'm obviously a very emphatic no. I knew this would be a 4-3 vote when we started this evening, and I knew we were going to lose a superintendent who will always hold a place in the Hall of Fame as one of our most beloved leaders.
And this all kind of cropped up really over the course of a week. The minority on the school board, they had kind of raised the alarm about, what they sort of described as an illegal plot to oust the superintendent in violation of Colorado open meetings laws and some of the district's own personnel policies. And they raised the alarm. They said the conservative majority on the school board is moving forward with firing the superintendent to go in a different direction. And then on Friday night, it all came to pass.
And what you're doing tonight is horrific. I've never seen anything in our district like it, including those years, several years ago, that we always refer to as the dark ages. You have just activated the dark ages for this district. So congratulations. My vote is a no.
And in really pretty chaotic and dramatic fashion, this vote to fire Corey Wise happened again on a 4-3 vote.
Measure is passed 4-3. And audience, please do not react.
Let's go back to the beginning because this particular segment of the drama happened over just a week, which is not a lot of time, but this is a longer, bigger picture conversation about Douglas County, in particular the school district. So where do you think this story really started?
So, one place to start is the Douglas County School Board has kind of flipped back and forth between sort of a more conservative, pro-reform majority and a more progressive sort of teachers union-backed majority. It's flipped a couple times in recent elections. The most recent time was just a few months ago.
Most school board races went to candidates backed by teachers unions. In Douglas County, however, 4 conservative candidates will flip the makeup of the board and have declared victory.
They had campaigned on a lot of what they called parent choice, which was opposition to mask mandates was a big part of it, and sort of in general sort of opposition to COVID protocols at schools and closures and whatnot. Also a big undercurrent of, or a big current of opposition to what they called critical race theory influence in terms of some of the curricula in DCSD, and in particular an equity policy that was passed by the previous board in March 2021.
Let's dig in a little deeper on that equity policy because we covered it on the show last year, and I know you've reported on the debate around critical race theory. Where do you see the connections here?
Yeah, so I think, when it comes to Douglas County, it has been interesting to see sort of these 4 new conservative board members, how they talk about it has kind of differed depending on the venue and at what stage in this process is. I think, on the campaign trail last year, you heard them giving a lot of, interviews with Fox News and really kind of crusading against, identifying critical race theory as an influence in this equity policy and in DCSD more broadly, and talking about adult ideologies infecting the classroom and personal politics. And I think I'm not sure that the words critical race theory have been uttered by these board members in recent school board meetings. They have kind of modulated their opposition to this policy in a lot of ways, and in fact, they passed a resolution at the end of January, sort of clearing the way for changes to be made. They are pretty adamant that this is not a repeal of the equity policy. They just want to see it reflect some more, principles that they have laid out. Some of the language they use is that the equity policy is too focused on, quote, group identities, and they want to see more, as they put it, emphasis on individuals as opposed to what they call group identities.
My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
So what happened at the beginning of last week that really sparked this situation?
The effort to fire Superintendent Wise was revealed kind of somewhat dramatically in a public meeting held last Monday night.
President Peterson informed me that he had met along with Christy Williams that morning with Superintendent Wise and had given him the option to resign or let him know that the board would be moving forward with termination.
David Ray, who's one of the school board members, he described it as an unauthorized ultimatum, which involved two of the conservative members going to Superintendent Wise and essentially saying, you can resign by the middle of next week, or we're going to begin the process of termination.
And that clearly upset a lot of people in Douglas County, including students, parents, and 1,500 teachers who called in sick on Thursday in protest. And many of them were on the streets outside of the district's headquarters. And I know that you spoke to a couple of them. What did you see and hear out there?
Yeah, I mean, I saw an awful lot of people. I saw it was difficult to park in down in Castle Rock and kind of everybody trudging their way through the lots of snow and 20-degree temperatures towards DCSD headquarters in Castle Rock. And for a few hours, folks rallied out there. Lots of teachers, lots of parents, lots of students showing. Mostly, I think the message was at that point a lot of support for Superintendent Corey Wise and opposition to getting rid of him, as transpired a day later. And especially as we talked about, kind of the seesawing back and forth between these conservative and progressive majorities, they talk about not wanting to go backwards, and they feel like the district has been going in the right direction over the last 4 years in terms of those things, and don't want to see things go in a different direction, as with the firing of Superintendent Wise appears to be the case.
And that's kind of how we ended up with this Friday night school district meeting that was like live stream that people were watching and live tweeting. Yep. So, as the meeting began, I think that the Liberal members they expressed appreciation. Thank you for calling this and doing it in a public setting. And I think that's what they wanted all along. And it was a bit of a chaotic scene from there.
Just to bring it back, I appreciate Becky, but this is not a debate over is Becky nice or not. I know she is.
Wasn't my question.
I might ask for a motion on unanimous consent that Becky is a good person and is trying. But we're getting.
What did you see in watching this that maybe seemed atypical for a school board meeting?
Well, in watching it, it was hard not to think back to, I think that one of the big campaign ads that the Kids First Committee, who elected these, that was the slate that elected these 4 conservative members, they put out a campaign ad ahead of the election last year, and its title was "Bring Boring Back to School Board Meetings."
Bring back boring to school board meetings.
We have seen a lot of chaos in the boardroom from frustrated parents who have lost trust in the board.
The lack of stable leadership and 3 superintendents in 4 years does not reflect stability.
But not all is lost. With true leaders on the board,
we will go the distance to reestablish trust in the school board again.
Help us rebuild trust and bring back boring to the boardroom.
So it was, I think there are a lot of adjectives you could use to describe Friday night's meeting. I don't think boring would be one of them, and I don't think it really lacked chaos. So it was quite something.
The responsibility of the 7 of us is to determine the best leadership. And with all due respect, if you can come up with nothing better than what happened before you were elected, the problem with leadership is the 4 of you.
Yeah, I would also like a direction. I like the redirection, but I would like the question answered. Who directed this? Did you direct the superintendent? You're voting no for termination.
I'm sorry, yes.
Mike, that was her vote. You do not get to come in and coerce her into changing her vote. And if she cannot follow what is happening, it is not your responsibility to bring her up to speed. Her vote is no.
I am confirming her vote.
In the end, who do you think really is coming out ahead here, or whose interests do you think this situation really serves?
Certainly in this matter of the superintendent's future, the conservative majority won in this instance. I would say, I think it's fair to say that they struggled to articulate a clear reason in this meeting and a clear rationale for exactly why they wanted to let Superintendent Wise go. They fired him without cause, which is an important, technicality. And, I think they felt like they wanted to go in a different direction, and they felt, I think, President Mike Peterson, who is one of the new members, said that he had lost trust in Superintendent Wise and didn't feel like he was the person to sort of carry out this new board's vision. And now Superintendent Wise is gone, and there will be presumably a new superintendent at some point. And, that will be up to the conservative majority to select that person and have their sort of vision for the district carried out over the next several years.
Well, Chase Woodruff, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, boy. Who would have known we'd be talking about DougCo's school districts on...
I swear to God, 5 minutes ago, I was like a climate change reporter.
Surprise! Some Douglas County students plan to walk out of class today in protest of the school board's decision to fire Wise. CBS 4 also reports that one Douglas County graduate says she has already collected 15,000 signatures in support of a recall of the conservative majority board members. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed the show, why not take a minute to tell a friend about us, rate the show wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to our morning newsletter, where today Peyton has an even deeper dive into the Douglas County drama. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See you later. http://www.denver.citycast. Just kidding. Okay. Okay.